Clive, do you think this is the tip of the iceberg? I mean, how much of a problem do you think that the internet will actually pose to the legal system?
Well, we know from research that was carried out about a year and a half ago that people are, when they're serving on juries, they are going to the internet, something like 5% in standard jury cases. That raises to almost 15% in high-profile cases. We don't know what effect it has on them, but we know that they're doing it. Sophie, it's a little bit like, isn't it, saying to jurors, don't use the internet, leaving a jar of sweets in a room full of school children. The teacher leaves the room and says, whatever you do whilst I'm outside the room, don't look in the jar marked sweets. A national newspaper was reporting this week something like 40 online communications by serving jurors. And the fact is that if this prison term that's been passed here today of 8 months, if that doesn't send out a really clear message, if people continue to use the internet whilst they serve as jurors, then we're really going to have to look again at our strict laws on contempt and perhaps move more towards an American-type system where they take a much more relaxed attitude towards this kind of thing.
Clive, thank you very much. The time is coming up to 1:20. Our top story this lunchtime. High street sales fell last month as Britons tightened their belts and spent less. And coming up, a breakthrough over break-ins, how new security technology is foiling the car thieves.
Later on BBC London, we'll be live at St Paul's Cathedral, where the scaffolding has come down after 15 years of restoration and centre court fashion. We'll see what top designers have created for the stars of tennis ahead of Wimbledon fortnight.
"20 years ago, more than 500,000 cars were stolen in the UK, but since then that figure has fallen dramatically to just over 100,000 in a year. It's all thanks to improvements to the security on new vehicles. Better locks, toughened glass and immobilisers have all made life harder for the thief. Our transport correspondent Richard Scott has been to the UK Motor Industries Research Centre in Thatcham in Berkshire to find out more.
In this car's day, the car thief had it pretty easy. He could simply break the window, hotwire the car and drive it off. Now, though, with modern cars, it's a very different proposition, as Ian here is going to demonstrate. So even though he's broken the window, there's an alarm going off and he can't open the door because the door handles don't work without the key. And crucially, even if Ian climbs into the car, he still can't drive it away because the engine won't start without the key either. That's because modern keys have a chip inside them which is unique to the individual car, so the engine simply will not start unless you have the relevant key. And about 3/4 of car thefts are carried out with the keys being stolen as well, with about 20% of burglaries actually carried out simply to get at a car's keys. Well, let's have a word now with Andrew Miller from the motor research organisation Thatcham. And you're simply saying, really, that you've done what you can as an industry and it's up to the public now to protect their keys.
Well, the stats you just talked about indicate that actually about 75% of thefts are with the keys, so it makes sense for people to look after their keys as much as they can to protect themselves from this type of work. However, we're still working very closely with car makers to actually ensure that even though they are highly secure now, cars are made even more secure in the future.
And even though cars are getting harder to steal and they're getting safer as well with all of this new technology that's coming in, our insurance premiums seem to be going up sharply year after year. Why is that?
Well, unfortunately, there's a link between premiums, cost of insurance and the claims. And claims still continue to rise, and that's mainly driven through personal injury, mainly whiplash type claims, but also the cost of vehicles increases to repair them. And you could argue actually very strongly that without the safety and security developments that have taken place, that actually they'll be going up even faster.
OK, Andrew Miller, thank you very much. So the message from the industry is keep your keys safe and certainly not within easy reach of your letterbox.
Our transport correspondent Richard Scott there. The man accused of abducting and murdering the schoolgirl Millie Dowler in Surrey 9 years ago has refused to give evidence at his trial. Lawyers acting for Levi Belfield told the judge at the Old Bailey that he would not be speaking in his defence. He denies the charges. The American congresswoman shot in the head in January has been released from hospital after showing improvements in her condition. Gabrielle Giffords was injured and 6 others died in the shooting at a constituency event in Tucson, Arizona. The man accused of the shooting has been declared mentally unfit to stand trial. Two men have been remanded in custody in connection with an alleged plot involving the singer Joss Stone. Junior Bradshaw and Kevin Liverpool are charged with conspiracy to rob and commit grievous bodily harm. Well, let's speak to our correspondent John Kay, who is in Exeter now. What was said in court then, John?
Well, Sophie, this was just a short initial court appearance lasting little more than 30 minutes. The two men you just mentioned remanded in custody and have been taken away. They only spoke in court to confirm their identities and the address where they both live in Manchester. Junior Bradshaw is 30 years old. He had braided hair, was wearing a grey sweatshirt, and Kevin Liverpool beside him, he's 33, he has a beard. He was wearing a black t-shirt. They were formally charged with conspiracy to rob and conspiracy to cause grievous bodily harm. Their next court appearance will be here at Exeter Crown Court early next month. Now, this alleged plot focuses on the soul singer, the young soul singer Joss Stone, who grew up here in Devon, and despite her enormous fortune and global fame that she's achieved over the last decade, she still lives in a small hamlet close to the town of Columpton, and it was in that area near Columpton that two men were arrested on Monday morning. Police recovered balaclavas, knives, a samurai sword and some detailed maps from a car at the scene. Joss Stone, we're not sure whether she was actually inside the property at the time, but we do know she's been in Devon over the last few days. She's issued a statement to her fans reassuring them that she is absolutely fine.
John
Sophie.
Kay in Exeter, thank you very much. The FA Cup is to be sponsored by Budweiser beer. It's been announced today. The deal is said to be worth £8 million over 3 years. It's the first time the world's oldest domestic cup competition has been sponsored by an American firm. Ice hockey is famous, or maybe infamous, for its brawls between players during the match. But after one game in Canada, the violence got a little out of hand. The local team in Vancouver had just lost the cup final to a team from Boston. John Brain reports now on the violence that followed.
They'd come expecting to see their team triumph. Instead, the Vancouver fans experienced only humiliation as Boston trounced their heroes to win the prestigious Stanley Cup. Cue mayhem outside the stadium. For several hours, downtown Vancouver was turned into a riot zone. There were running battles between some fans and the police. Others smashed shop windows, and there were reports of widespread looting. Fire crews were called into action as the mob set light to vehicles and piles of rubbish. A plume of black smoke could be seen over the Vancouver skyline. This city has paid a high price for sporting defeat. John Brain, BBC News.